Hi everyone, Mindless IQ here, and in today's video I'm going to be telling you reasons why you might not be improving and how to fix it. So there are probably three main reasons why you're not improving, right? You're probably not remembering the tips and tricks you've learned and you're just plainly forgetting them. Second, you might not be consistent enough with your practice or with your tips and tricks that you might be learning. And third, you just might be learning the wrong things. You just might be working on the wrong thing, so you're not improving, right? So that's a brief overview of what I'm going to be talking about this video. If you do like tips and tricks videos like these, it would literally mean the world to me if you can like, subscribe, or even leave a comment. And without further ado, let us get started. So first one, right? So you're forgetting the tips and tricks that you're learning. Like, this is literally me. So a lot of times I watch a tips and tricks video, whether it's Jarian or Techo or whatever it may be, whoever it may be, and for a while, maybe a day or two, I remember it, and then or I watch it like on my free time, right? And then when I get in game, I just forget everything that I've learned. You know what I mean? It's actually funny, but yeah, you might be watching a whole bunch of tips and tricks videos, but if you're not remembering to actually execute them and doing them, then they're basically no use, right? They're only helpful if you know what you're doing, right? So one tip that can help you with this, right, is writing it down, right? So maybe you don't have to write this down every single time, right? So let's say you watch one of my videos, all of them are pretty useful, you should, and you find like maybe one or two tips and tricks that really like align with you and you think that you can use or implement in your gameplay. Then for like the first week, every time you're playing Fortnite, right before, you want to like remind yourself to write it down and remind yourself during in game to like actually apply those tips, right? And I feel like after struggling to improve a lot, and I've seen that doing this is what helps with the most improvement. You just write it down, and yeah. Another thing that actually helps improving if you're not improving at all, this is very beneficial to the YouTuber. You don't have to do this, and it is a bit more time consuming, but rewatching the video, right? So this is basically, you watch the video, first time casually, you're getting all the tips and tricks, right? But second time you rewatch the video just so you can remember everything that's happening, and so that you don't so that you actually find the tips that are most helpful for you. And this helps because if you're watching something twice, the first time you might skip some things, you might not necessarily understand some things, and by watching the second time you understand it, therefore you get a better nerve connections, making you remember it and whatnot. Yeah. Or the best way, in fact, of remembering something is connecting it to a previous event. So let's say you find this tip, never stand still, right? You could relate it back to one time where you stand still healed and then someone's 200 sniped you. If you relate it back to previous memory, that really helps you remember it. Tip number two, or as in scenario number two. So second, you're probably not consistent enough, right? So what do I mean by this, right? So this is the thing where you use it once and it might work, it might not work, you don't know, right? I don't know. So let's say it doesn't work in particular and you just kind of like let go. You just like, and this tip is not helpful. It might be a helpful tip, but it could be something that's like helping you in the long run, or you're just not seeing the effects of it yet. And same thing if you just see some improvement but not a lot, like you have to keep going, because these tips and tricks videos, a lot of them are not just gonna, it's not a quick fix. A lot of them, they're just gonna help you in like a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month, and then you can actually start seeing a big difference between before you use it and after you use it. Or there are some ones that are like quick fixes and are very helpful. Yeah, those are some things that will help you be more consistent with it. And again, every time you play, make sure you remember, make sure you try to do what you're learning, right? Because if you do them every time for a week, it kind of starts going into your playstyle. You know, if you do a certain edit or a certain, I don't know, clone or build, right? It kind of starts going into your playstyle, and once it's in your playstyle, you don't have to like remember it anymore, and you can just consistently do it because it's part of how you play, right? I feel like that's the best tip if you're just like not being consistent enough. If you just try to be more consistent and try to put it in your playstyle, then it will really help you with improving, right? And tip number 3, or scenario number 3, right? Okay, let's say, yeah, I've done all of these and it's still not working. It can just mean two things, right? You're probably focusing on the wrong thing, because um maybe the thing that you're focusing on is not necessarily a weakness, and your weakness is in something else, and that's what's holding you back the most, right? So let's say if I'm teaching you this awesome building strat, right, and you learn it and it works, right, but you're still not seeing like improvement in your actual normal game, right, when you get into arena and stuff, it might just be that your aim is bad and you just need a tip for aiming better, or it might be that your game sense is bad and you just need game sense tips, right? So you actually have to figure out what's going on wrong, because a lot of times this happens with me. This is all from experience and my friend's experience. Like, you're just focusing on the wrong thing, and by focusing on the wrong thing for so long, it can literally be like, oh my, it can be very unmotivating. Like, you're actually trying, you're actually grinding, but it's not working, right? Or it can be like, you can actually give up. So yeah, you want to focus on the right things, right? So how do I know what I'm bad at and what I'm good at? Two things, two ways. First, water view, right? Like, every little mistake that you make, write it down and see what like the top 3 or top 4, or those are probably your weaknesses, right? Or see how you die most often. Do you die at early game, mid game, or end game, right? If you die at end game, then if you die at early game, you just don't know your draft spot that much, or you're pretty nervous and you probably are not good at fighting off spawn. Focus on that. If you die mid game, maybe your rotates are bad. You're just always getting third party, don't wanna. And if you died end game, you're probably not doing the correct rotates, or there's many different scenarios which you can die in these. But once you figure out why you died, and you can just search for videos on how to make the end game, early game, or how to get better off on fighting. There's thousands of videos helping you guys with this. So yeah, a quick recap of everything I've talked about. Scenario number 1, you're just forgetting the tips and tricks that you're watching, right? Maybe write it down, watch the video twice so you can actually remember everything. To scenario number 2, you're not being consistent enough with your practice. Try to incorporate the tips and tricks that you're learning into your playstyle. And tip number 3, you're focusing on the wrong thing, right? VOD review and see what your actual problems are, and search it up on YouTube, or you can just search through all my videos. That would be very helpful for me. And make sure to leave a like, subscribe, watch. You've already watched the video all the way through. Thank you for staying this long. I know it was hard, but thank you, and without further ado, later.